Armchair commanders, we call the shots. From our living room thrones where the action's hot. We're the generals of fiction, the masters of war. In silver screen battles with buttered popcorn. Armchair commanders, armchair commanders.
Alrighty, welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John.
And I'm Jax, hey?
And this week we're reviewing a noir classic, Casablanca.
Damn right we are. Wasn't expecting this culture from one of my suggestions, were you?
No, I was not. I also was not expecting this film to be the letdown that it was.
Wow. Controversial.
I know.
What did you hate about it?
Have you seen this movie before?
No.
So I guess, seeing as neither of us had seen this film, which I feel like as two guys who review war movies, I mean, granted, it's in our free time, but we have a slightly successful podcast. I know, I'm using the word slightly generously there, but you would think for as big of film buffs we are, that either one of us would have watched this movie prior to this point.
I've never seen a movie in my life.
Uh-huh.
Until this movie.
This is the first movie you ever watched?
Ever.
Better yet, why didn't we watch this in film appreciation?
Well, I think we had the same film appreciation professor, Brian Begley.
Yes. He was actually the faculty advisor to the fencing club for which I was president of. I bet you guys didn't know that at home. That John, your lovable host here, used to do collegiate fencing.
And I would have gone pro if it weren't for my bum knee. But so
could have been the pack-a-day smoking I did.
I've got a question. I've got a question for you, Mister. I'm a collegiate level fencer.
Okay, what?
How come nobody who's ever done fencing has ever thought to bring a gun? Yeah. But you can't answer that one, can you?
No, I can't.
Well, anyway, back to Brian. He's the titular boys in the band, Mrs. Begley and the Boys. Fun fact for you, the award-winning band from Vermilion. And he's a very talented man. My introduction to Mr. Begley wasn't college. It was a summer camp I used to go to because he taught there too. He taught acting. He taught fencing. He taught stage combat. He taught fucking miming, like how to be a mime.
I was going to say Miranda actually experienced Bagley because he did a mime show at her middle school.
That's something he would do, yes.
It's weird how the world turns.
Man, it's almost like South Dakota's a small state.
There's one mime in the entire state.
Yeah, we scared off all the other ones. Actually, no, we scared off half of them. We killed the other half on accusations of witchcraft. They went
to go join the resistance.
It's like he was playing baseball, but everything was invisible. It was like some kind of magic. But anyway, yeah, he was my introduction, and he was also my film appreciation professor in college. Great professor. And
I found it interesting that in our film appreciation class, we watched a lot of clips from different movies, but there was only one movie we watched start to finish with him because he was under the impression that it was a masterpiece. And I'm not saying that as a slight against the film, because I also think it's a masterpiece of a film. but the only film we watched start to finish in his class was Juno.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say start to finish. We did skip about 10% of it for me. I don't quite remember what ones we skipped. But anyway, yes, we did watch most of Juno, and it was either me or some other person asked him about Citizen Kane, and his response was, I'm paraphrasing here, but I am so goddamn sick of talking about Citizen Kane. When I first started, it was like, here's Citizen Kane, like, this is what makes it a masterpiece. This inspired this and this and this and this and this and this. And then he was like, yeah, here's Citizen Kane, and now he just doesn't review it because he's sick of it.
I can definitely see that. But on the flip side to that, I think maybe that's why I didn't really care for this movie, or I shouldn't say I didn't care for this movie. I did like watching it, but I was thoroughly unimpressed. And I think the reason for that is because Casablanca, much like Citizen Kane, like it is propped up as like this pinnacle of cinema. Like it is like the classic of classic films. It won Best Picture of the year it came out. It's in the fucking national, like the super secret National Archives, like bunker, doom bunker for his like keeping, historically significant films safe. Like it is referenced to no end in umpteen million different like TV shows and other movies. And when I watched this movie, I don't know, maybe I had it so built up in my mind that the actual product just fell flat for me.
Well, that's not really the fault of the movie itself, though, is it?
No, but even by other films that we've watched from the same time period, it's kind of just meh.
I thought it was great. I liked it.
I
But
I thought it was a good noir film. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a masterpiece. Like sue me.
well, okay. But one
I
thing
want
I'd
to hear
like,
your counter argument to this because you
you're
obviously
entitled to your
don't
opinion.
agree.
I don't know. I just say it's okay, so I know you don't frequent TV tropes nearly as much as I do, but there's a trope to this. Um, it's called quote Seinfeld in quotes is unfunny, and it's when a piece of media is generally considered to be good. Most standout critic or a lot of standout critics try to be the outlier and try to deconstruct why it isn't funny and why you're stupid for liking it.
So you're saying I'm a hipster.
Now, I ain't saying you're a hipster. I'm just saying that you have facial hair and you like craft IPAs,
I don't like IPAs.
you like craft beer, and you live in Colorado, and you have an ironic sense of humor. And all right, I'm out of ideas for you're a hipster, but
But that's the basis of your argument is that
oh, you have a mustache.
oh my god. You're trying to say that the reason I hate this movie, or I don't hate this movie, the reason I dislike this movie is because I'm being a contrarian.
Partially.
But Seinfeld isn't funny.
Fuck you.
What's the deal with airlines?
All right, we could just continue on mocking each other, but my goddamn point that I wanted to bring up was the opening scene that establishes Rick's Cafe. And so I looked this up to make sure, and I'm almost completely convinced that it inspired the cantina scene from Star Wars. Ow, god damn it, that hurt.
Durka.
Yeah, there wasn't a band playing a genre of music called, and I shit you not, jizz. That is the in-universe name for the Cantina band's song genre or music genre that they're playing. In fact, the band in the movie is called blank blank and the Jizz Wailers. Anyway, sleep tight with that knowledge. But
Oh, I will. Soundly, might I add.
but no, like that's like your introduction to a shitload of alien species in the Star Wars universe. Them going to this shady bar in a desert city that's ostensibly controlled by an outside power, but not really. And it's a, like I said, a really fucking shady bar. People get shot and it's treated like a weekly thing that they just get over right away.
I think that brings me to like one of my favorite lines on this. Like, and here's the thing: like, this film was written by some pretty prominent comedy writers of the time. They share the name of a not so popular individual today.
Hitler.
No, Epstein. The writer's name was Epstein. Okay, very
Did you look
unfortunate.
up? Did you look up and see if he's related to that Epstein?
No, you know what? No, I did not do that research.
We should.
But doing the whole cantina thing and like people just up and dying, like our first death of this movie, Rick literally is like, "Well, that was unfortunate. Band, play some music."
Yeah, that's. I mean, the show must go on.
But later on in the movie, somebody is trying to make a plea to him, basically to help them get out of Casablanca, to get them their papers. I think it's the scene where the girl's like, "My husband's at the roulette table trying to buy our freedom, and obviously he's fucking losing." And she's like, "I need help. We're going to die in Casablanca." And
yeah, probably.
and Rick's like, "What's the matter with that? I'm going to die in Casablanca. It's as good a place as any to die."
Yeah, what's wrong
Like,
with
Jesus
Casablanca?
Christ.
People have done it before. You don't hear them complaining.
Just because they're dead.
But yeah, the confusing political situation at the time where it's a French-controlled territory, but France is gone, so who the fuck do they answer to? They're Germans there too, so no one's really sure who's in charge or who has absolute power over whom. All they know is that it's a delicate situation. They're not really keen on poking the bear. And the European refugees and the American bar owner that they can't touch for political reasons because America isn't in the war. And this movie takes place literally the week before what the hell is it called? Pearl Harbor happened.
Like the setting of the film, or
It's a 1942 film set in like late November, early December of 1941. Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, this film came out just in time for like the invasion of North Africa, which also probably helped with the box office sales.
Oh, it was a very timely movie, very timely. In fact, that was one of the concerns the studio had, was that it wasn't going to be remembered years down the line because it was a made for its time movie and wouldn't age well. However, here we
Like
are 80
Tigers.
years later talking about it on a platform that they probably couldn't even conceive of at the time.
Right. Well, I
Yes.
mean, we're no strangers to timely films that aren't good, like, Flying Tigers and whatnot.
So, to our listeners listening to this 80 years in the future, after Jonathan dies a ripe old age of 90 or 80 something, and I die from a heroin overdose in my 30s or 40s, how well does this podcast age? Hey, I'm realistic.
What's the average life expectancy of a podcaster?
Yeah, like, what if this is like being recorded and is one of
It
the
is
few.
being recorded, you
No,
dipshit.
no! Shut up! And like, it's one of the few things that survives the big fucking of 2080 or whatever year in the future, and people like look back on this as historical records.
Like it's on a flash drive, like a holocron or something from Star Wars.
I don't know, like some hard drive, some guy in, I don't know, Cleveland recorded in his basement for some reason, and they like salvage it decades after the collapse, and
That
they
would
like
be that'd
there's
be
gonna
hilarious. Two things survived the great fucking of 2080. One, the movie vault that Casablanca is stored in, and then this review of it.
yeah, right, just wouldn't that be wild? Like they're probably gonna talk about us in some college course that people are gonna that only undergrads take, and they're gonna sleep through.
We are learning from the masters of art appreciation.
Yeah,
They
these
spoke
two.
of a great grand master, the mimist Bagley.
Yeah, we don't know what miming is, but he was apparently some dark magical art in their time. They were very superstitious in those days.
It was
This,
probably some sort of mating ritual.
but anyway, speaking of mating ritual, like the whole thing of her just leaving him and leaving a note. Like, imagine if this were made today and like she just breaks up with him over text and they actually communicate with each other. And for some reason, she's not vague about why she's breaking up with him. She just mentions, "Oh, hey, my husband's still alive," and probably
Well, yeah,
uses a couple emojis
if
to
this
go with
happened
it.
today, like that dude would have been scoping out her Facebook, be like, "It's kind of weird. She's got a lot
Yeah,
of pictures of this dude in here."
yeah, probably crying tears into his whiskey while staring at her profile picture. Couldn't be me, but anyway. So yeah, he's really just resigned himself to fate, hasn't he? He's just chilling at a bar, drinking, smoking, gambling all day, running what running a human smuggling operation. I almost used the T word. But
Transportation.
sure, yeah. Yeah. But another thing that I want to bring up on the same vein of this movie in modern day, imagine like sending off your ex-girlfriend with her husband at them and like giving her that tearful goodbye at the end that everybody remembers from this film most of all.
Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not even next week. But one day.
And like, the tearful send off on the airstrip. Now imagine if that took place today and like you said goodbye to her. Now you have to awkwardly watch her go through the fucking TSA
checkpoint.
Yeah, and everything.
I want
And
to
then,
see a parody movie that does something like that.
honestly, I think this pony has legs. Just a modern day Casablanca. And
We can call it Casablanca.
Casa Space Blanca. White House. But
I can't come with you, and I can't tell you why. Bitch, I see your fucking GPS dot on the iPhone tracker down the street.
are you telling the truth? On God, my dear. No
For
cap.
real, for real.
Humphrey Bogart, but he has the fucking broccoli head haircut.
Oh my god.
And he just fucking shoots a guy outside the airport. Everybody starts recording and posting it to TikTok.
Oh, World Star. Oh, wait. World Star's way before TikTok. Never mind.
Man, I really gotta say, cops kind of suck nowadays. Because
Yeah.
back then, you shoot a Nazi at the airport, and he's like, "Oh well, it must have been someone else. Come on, let's go fight
This is
Nazis."
the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
No, but when I do it, I get arrested. It's all, get on the ground, sir. And I'm like, let's go fight Nazis together. He's like, fuck you, put your hands behind your head. And then he beats the shit out of me.
Maybe you should have listened.
Yeah, it was the damnedest thing. He like dropped a knife next to my head, said he's got a knife, and then he started kicking me in the head. You can't see it, dear listeners, but he's drinking to cope with my endless stream of bullshit.
You brought it up earlier, but I think one of the things that really struck me about this film, and the reason why I was like, I can appreciate the fact that this is like very like, this is as noir a film as a noir film can get. So I can appreciate it from that standpoint. For why people prop it up so much. But there's genuinely some story writing in here that didn't make sense to me.
Like what?
So you mentioned the fact that Casablanca is in North Africa, and the territory Casablanca's in is
it's a gray area, to say the least.
It is a gray area. It's called Free France, but the actual name for it is Vichy France. In Vichy France, there's two types of France during World War II.
Occupied and non-occupied.
Right. Occupied are the guys that are like, fuck you, Nazis, and the Nazis came in and fucking curb stomped them. Unoccupied France, or Vichy France, was a collaborative government. So they were like, jawohl, Adolf, we'll do what you say, just let us mind our own business. So Casablanca is in this backdrop where the Germans aren't messing with the city because it is part of a government that, toes the line, so to speak. And there's a scene that it's a very big scene in this movie, and it's a scene that has been replicated in other films, but it's the bar sing-off scene where the Germans are on one side of the bar and they start singing some sort of German song, and then everybody else in the bar starts singing like a French song, and they try and out-sing each other like louder and louder, and finally the Germans just leave because the French song is the loudest and has the most passion behind it, and like people are crying tears, and it's like, oh, we are standing up to the Nazis. And I'm like, this doesn't fucking make sense because they're in a fucking Nazi collaborator territory.
And they yearn for a freer France.
It's just, it comes off as this grand, like, fuck you, Germany, when these are the people who are working with them.
Now,
like
working
with them, or Rick ultimately gives his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend and her husband passports to get out of the country because he is a resistance leader, was in the concentration camps, all this kind of shit. Like, that is a fantastic story. It is even more impressive given the fact that everybody else in that vicinity would have been pro-Germany. So
that's a stretch.
Maybe not pro-Germany, but they weren't fucking going out of their way to be a pain in the ass to the Germans either.
Yeah, and I kind of get where you're coming from, but I think a Frenchman would prefer a free France. And by free, I mean free of Germans. Like, yes, they're working with them, but is it because they want to or have to? That's an important question. I don't doubt that similar things have happened in World War II, where they had a sing-off. And I really want to see the extended version of this where it shows the dance-off they had.
Don't break my heart. My
achy breaky. You went and served the Germans. Now we got to get out of Casablanca.
You just got served. It's on.
It's on. Great episode. But so What was your first cultural osmosis exposure to this? Because I remember like the first reference that I caught without having seen the movie, it was Fairly Odd Parents, where he needs to figure out where it was the one that parodies noir detective novels, and he's trying to find out where Wanda went, and he's like asking around and being coy about it. And then there's a scene where Trixie Tang, the apple of his eye, is getting on a plane, and they reenact that goodbye plane scene. So that was my first exposure to Casablanca.
I think the earliest I can remember is like OG Family Guy, like one of the first 3 seasons.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and that was in like I think that was the first episode, actually.
Yeah, so Peter Go is like going to or is a part of like this bachelor party, and they have like an X-rated
Yeah,
Casablanca tape.
Casablanca.
Casablanca, yeah. That was my first
Oh, actually, yeah. I remember.
Humphrey Bogart just has a suspiciously low cut trench coat. One
Man,
thing I will give this film is that I think in our run of this podcast,
yeah, it was literally the first episode.
um, that's good to know. I'm going to have to rewatch the first episode of Family Guy just for that joke. But in the run of this podcast, we have explored quite a few films that have a love story, love element, even love centric or love forward plots. And I feel like we've never really been fair to them. I don't want to say not fair to them, but we've never really cared for them because it just doesn't really feel like it fits. This is one of the occasions, this is like the first time I can think of in our podcast where I wanted more of the like love triangle romance storyline. Like, and it's already a pretty prevalent part of the film. But like, I could do less with fucking roulette and more with, you know, Ilsa, you know, and Rick like backstory in France.
Oh,
You
that
know,
was one of my favorite parts. Because it was like, I love you, bitch, saying. And she was like, oh, Rick, I love you so much. Man, nothing bad ever happens in 1939 in France.
no,
And then it was the montage of the archive footage of the Nazis driving along the European countryside. And I was like, oh, no.
the
Oh,
day that will live in
no.
infamy.
It was like that time the camera focused on the date of Pearl Harbor and the Flying Tigers.
Brum, brum, brum. Wonder what happens.
Like, God, you remember Caden from college? Fucking love
Yes.
that guy. But at his wedding, I was rooming with a buddy of mine, and another one of our friends came down before we headed off to the wedding. But in the meantime, we were watching some movie that I can't remember, but it involved World War One. So, and it was like this montage of shit before World War One, of just like calm music. And then there's it showed a newspaper, the sinking of the Lusitania, and then everybody in the room, including me, started going, "Oh no!" And it was just a dramatic sting of music when that came up.
And just think, in 50 years, people are going to be making those kind of jokes about 9/11.
Actually,
Don't.
there is a movie that's kind of like that. There's some romantic drama movie starring Robert Pattinson and a forgettable woman I can't remember the name of. But in the ending scene, it's just like ostensibly a normal day, and it just shows him at work in his office looking like he hates his life. She's a teacher. She steps away from the blackboard and it shows the day's date, September 11th, 2001. It shows him walk to the window and it zooms out and it shows him on the upper floor of one of the twin towers. It's just, it was, you just have to see it to believe it. It is just fucking hilarious unintentionally.
You know, so me and Miranda are trying for kids, and like we've had discussions about like what kind of parents we want to be, and like what kind of parenting styles we want to employ, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like important conversations you should have prior to procreating. That way you know, you're on the same page as your partner. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally on board. Like, not spanking. Like, I don't want to hit our kids or anything like that. Like,
I'm a real red-blooded American. I'll prefer cigar burns.
yeah. But I was like, I won't spank our kids. But the first day that I hear them make a 9/11 joke, I will fucking beat their ass.
You see, when our dear listeners, when DP was told to never forget, he never in fact forgot.
I didn't. I take 9/11 very seriously.
Yeah, every time he sees a building taller than 10 stories, he starts to tear up. I've seen him.
Shut the fuck up.
Man, yeah, that's why he refuses to say the phrase, "That really brought down the house," and he actively hits me every time I say it.
So, listeners at
9/11.
home, I am searching for a new co-host. I'll take applications at gofuckjack@gmail.com.
So I'm hurt on behalf of somebody else that Mitch wasn't your next in line after me. Fuck, I'm surprised he wasn't your first in line before me.
Because he's a dad.
And?
Because we both of us don't have kids and
that I know about.
Oh my god. Like, honestly, we could incorporate him as just a regular third host here. But like I said, he's like a real adult with like a family and shit.
We're just cosplaying as adults.
I have 2 dogs I take care of and 2 cats. That's not the mark. Being a pet owner, an adult does not make.
But man, yeah, I miss Mitch. I was going somewhere with this. Oh yeah, 9/11 and the dramatic sting. Man, more movies need to have that. Just either surprise 9/11 or surprise Germans.
Just surprise Nazis.
Yeah, just surprise Nazis where everything's going well. Fuck you, France is invaded.
So, considering this isn't an active like war zone, where do you feel this lands on our war film spectrum scale? Like,
it's a war movie.
It's definitely during a war.
And that's good enough for me.
Okay.
War is the main driver of the plot.
We're going to watch Mean Girls next. It happened during the War on Terror.
Well, no, it's not like Lindsay Lohan was smuggling out her classmates in her pink bag to escape the terrorists.
Her origin story was in Africa. Maybe she was like a blood diamond runner.
She lives in... wait, did she live in South Africa?
I don't remember it saying a specific country, but it was in the continent of Africa.
So she was an American citizen. It's just that her parents were like volunteering or something.
Air quote, volunteering.
Yeah, it was really weird that her dad had all those scars, talked in a South African accent, like had all those guns, and talked about the glory days.
Wasn't Lindsay Lohan's dad Stanley Tucci in that film?
I don't remember, man. I
I
don't
feel
know,
like
but
I want to
Stan,
see a movie where Stanley Tucci's dropping bodies.
yeah, man. Actually, wait, he kind of does in Kingsman.
Oh
Oh, wait,
yeah.
no, wait, no, that was Mark. That was Mark Strong, I think. But sue me, they look the same. Wow, that sounded racist, but they all look the same to me, Englishmen.
Okay. What What is your favorite part of this film?
I like the part when he says, "Play it again, Sam." Except he doesn't actually fucking say it. I've been lied to. He doesn't actually say, "Play it again, Sam." She doesn't say it either. She says, "Play it once more for me," or "Play it once more."
Ah, so you're having
And
yourself a little Berenstain
yes,
Bears.
I'm having a fucking Berenstain moment. But anyway, and then when he's drowning his sorrows in whiskey like I am right now, he like angrily demands his buddy play it. And he's like, "I no." And he's like, "Well, you played it for her, play it for me." He doesn't say play it again, Sam. He just angrily demands he play it. Because he's a kind of a whiny little fuck at 40 years old.
Do you want to discuss the Mandela effect a little more, or
Do not say it, the Mandela effect. Do not.
I'm sorry, Mandela,
Man, you're goddamn right. We're not having another one of those situations.
the Modelo effect?
Mandela effect. That's when I drink so much I forget what happens.
For
And
our listeners at home
I
who
wake up
aren't
in a
familiar
jail
with it,
cell.
you can go to YouTube and you can look up Mandela effect. And like the most common example of the Mandela effect is like the Berenstain Bears, or the Luke, I am your father line from Star Wars, however the fuck it actually goes.
It goes,
But
"No, I am your I am your father."
but essentially some fucking LSD brain dipshit made this theory that like, oh, we live in some sort of weird time loop because we remember everything incorrectly because like everything in pop culture says it this way, but when you actually go back to the source material it's wrong. And I attribute that to the fact that people are just dumb and don't remember things correctly. But
So I actually remember when this started gaining popularity.
I remember.
Because I'm terminally online. It was about in winter of 2013. So when our first semester of college, Nelson Mandela died, and a couple of dipshits on the internet were like, "Oh, I thought he died in prison in the 90s. That's why he's like held up to a like a martyr and blah blah blah." And people posted what they claimed was a South African news article about Nelson Mandela dying. It was later found out that that was from a short story in the 90s about what it would be like if he died.
Hmm.
So people are fucking stupid. Yes. And most of the Mandela effect can be chalked up to poor memories and assumptions. So I actually had my own Mandela effect happen to me back in 2017. I was at
Okay.
this I was at the store, and me and my buddies were having a bro down over one weekend. And I was at the grocery store. I'm like, all right, what else do we need? And they gave me a list like, oh, we want some Kool-Aid jammers because we're functional adults. And why don't you pick up some Capri Suns? And oh yeah, pick up some Yoo-Hoo chocolate milk. And I was like, you mean Yahoo, right? No, what the hell is Yahoo chocolate milk? And I was like, don't you remember like when we were kids drinking Yahoo chocolate milk came in those like little yellow boxes with the brown stains on it?
Time out. I have some Yoo-Hoo milk in my fucking cabinet right now.
You
Continue.
you mean Yahoo, right?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
But anyway, I'm like, no, these guys are fucking with me, and because that's something that sounds like something they would do. So I go over there and fuck me tender. It's Yoo-Hoo chocolate milk, and I even put it on my Snap story. Like, since when is it Yoo-Hoo chocolate milk? I thought it was Yahoo chocolate milk, and I actually got a couple of replies saying, "Wait, it's Yoo-Hoo." And I thought they were gaslighting me for the longest time, but I actually looked it up, and apparently I was just stupid as a kid and misremembered it. Now,
Well, you've always said you can't read, so
hey, fuck you. I intend to learn someday.
No, that's fair. And I think probably part of that is like somebody somewhere along the way probably referenced it in a TV show, but didn't want to pay for the copyright.
What also might have fucked me up is Yahoo.com was a lot bigger back in my childhood than it is now, and Yahoo soda from Hey Arnold. Yahoo
Mm.
soda, drink it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the one where fucking I think it was Sid. Yes, Sid. No, Stinky. Yeah, Stinky becomes the spokesperson for Yahoo soda.
You know what was my least favorite Hey Arnold episode?
The karate one.
Yeah.
We've talked about this when you were drunk before. You talked about how bad you felt for that guy asking for directions, and then
I just
Hey
want to
Arnold
know where the
murders him in
bus
cold
was.
blood. I'm kidding. Yeah, he just does like the stereotypical karate moves with the hiya hiya and sound effects, and then it just shows all the clothes fall off him as if he cut fabric with his karate chops.
It's like he pantsed him.
Yeah, I just publicly humiliated this poor guy.
I just want to know where the bus stop was.
My least favorite Hey Arnold is the same as everybody else, most other people's, in that I didn't like the Arnold betrays Iggy episode. I hate that episode. It's just a very bad feeling episode.
So yeah, listeners at home, when I get drunk and I get tears in my beer,
It's
I
about
cry
Hey
about
Arnold.
I cry about two things: 9/11 and the episode of Hey Arnold where he bullies a kid who just wants to know where the fucking bus stop is.
Well, he shouldn't have snuck up on a martial arts master.
God.
He was still wearing his gi and everything.
Speaking of tears in our beer, what are you drinking this evening?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Oh, Jesus Christ. I have my desk whiskey,
Ooh,
a bottle of Pendleton whiskey.
desk whiskey.
I live a sad life, man.
That's the kind of thing a functional alcoholic says.
I also have my desk Tanqueray, a little bit left in it, and I also have one of my favorite beers, Kona Big Wave, and I also have a grape THC drink that I'm gonna chug later. Actually,
That's quite the combo you got going there.
man, I'm getting fucked up tonight. I decided
I might do that tomorrow when we do our.
I don't I don't gotta be nowhere tomorrow until like 7.
This evening I'm keeping it simple, just doing a gin and tonic,
G&T, good choice.
which
Wait, wait.
I've already finished, but
What's your go-to gin?
Beefeater.
Eh? See, I'm more of a Tanqueray man myself.
I like the little dude on the bottle.
Yep. But what was I gonna go with this? I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna take a pull of tonic. And hey, actually, yeah, this fits because it's a gin joint. And all the gin joints in all the towns and all the world, she happens to come into mind.
Except they serve a lot of champagne. I want to
Yeah,
know
shut up.
what they have, like a champagne martini type deal. I want to try that shit.
One thing that I'm surprised neither of us have mentioned yet is how Ilsa refers to Sam as boy throughout the film,
Oh yeah, that's
and he is markedly older than her. That certainly didn't age well. At least
yeah.
old Humpty B treats him well, mostly.
Yeah, 1940s Hollywood was quite the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and And he
What
serves
were you
all
expecting from the writers called Epstein and Epstein?
yeah, and he serves all different kinds of people in his bar: Europeans, the locals, North Africans. Saw a couple Asians in the bar, and he even serves the French. But speaking of French and
Bastards.
bars, um, I have a good buddy. Goes back to childhood, and he joined the Marines at like 19 or 20 and shipped out. And he was stationed in France for a while. And according to him, he got Americans banned from 5 bars. And I've never felt more patriotic in my life.
It's okay. My dad used to break I think it was like Sharia law or something like that when he would go to Egypt in the 80s and 90s because at the time I think it still is, but at the time Egypt was a dry country, but he would sneak booze in.
Hey, hell yeah, Papa Jerry. Breaking the law.
Climbing the pyramids takes a lot out of you after you've bribed the fucking security guards.
God damn.
You
Yeah,
used to be able to do stuff like that.
a couple of greasy palms will get you far in life.
I
Man,
think it's about time we give this thing a rating.
I feel like there's one more meme we haven't addressed yet in this movie. Here's
Okay.
looking at you, kid, which is kind of weird being he's like 10 or 15 years older than his love interest.
The 40s were a different time.
Indeed. And I expect nothing less from a movie made by Epstein.
And Epstein.
Un-Epstein, you're right.
Epstein squared.
Ooh, it's a lot of Epstein. Yeah.
We should probably put this forward. We have no idea if there's any relation. It's just funny
Yeah,
to us.
someone look that up for us because we're too lazy to do it.
I have Google pulled up, but I'm not typing anything Epstein related into my search bar.
I will. Steen Casablanca. Oh wow, he looks like shit. Well, I guess this
I
was
mean,
taken when he was like
he is dead.
88. He died in 2000. Yeah. Best remembered for his screenplay, written with his twin brother Philip and Howard E. Cook, whatever, of the film Casablanca. It was adapted from an unpublished play called Everybody Comes to Rick's. Identical
That was the
twin
other thing
died in
I
52.
forgot that I read about this was the fact that the fucking screenplay wasn't finished when they started filming this. Like they literally finished it on the fly.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that like nobody knew what they were working on and how influential it would be. Like most of them thought it was just a schlocky movie to make the studio a couple bucks and then be forgotten about within a month. And then it spiraled into this.
Yeah. But now we have a classic in the vault of Congress.
Indeed.
So what do you think our rating should be for this film?
Um Dead Nazis.
1 to 5 dead Nazis. You know what? 1 to 5 payphones. Because that's the last thing the Nazi does.
Yeah, and then he breaks it when he falls down and like takes the cord out.
It really makes me think we need to bring payphones back.
Do we though?
Yes.
Why?
1 to 5 payphones.
But also this is kind of related. I was talking about this not too long ago, but do you want to know my absolute favorite part of 90s and 80s sci-fi is?
What's that?
They have spaceships capable of intergalactic travel. They have androids that toe the line between human and machine, but everybody still uses payphones.
It's like when we discussed Starship Troopers, and they still use like CDs for mail.
And what was the company that is it AT&T or IBM?
Is something like that. I don't remember specifically.
Was it I think it was a tech company that went tits up not too long ago, but
Well, here's looking at you, kid. Payphone.
all right, how many payphones do you give this?
I I did like it just because I have a soft spot in my heart for old movies. But like the pacing in this film is weird, and I don't know. I just didn't think it was really all that special or masterful, if you will. Acting was really good. Interesting story. I give it three payphones, and the fourth payphone, the fucking phone is ripped out of it, and all that's left is like the cord.
Also, I forgot to mention the whole concentration camp part of the backstory. It's worth mentioning that this came out before we realized just how truly bad concentration camps were. Like we found out they
Yeah,
weren't just
we knew they were a thing. We didn't understand how bad they were.
man. It must get really cold in Germany if they have this many smokestacks for heaters. But yeah, this is back when they thought, oh, it's just a holding place for future relocations for political prisoners, Jews. They're probably not dying en masse there, right?
No, probably not.
But yeah, in this movie, it's like, oh, I escaped from prison and not from a horrific nightmare death camp.
So
But
how many payphones are you giving this?
how many did you give it?
Like three and a half.
Oh, I'll give it 4.5 just for the history of it and just the mood and setting of it all.
The
And what
Dame
it
Dame Damely.
the Dame Damely calling a fucking 50, 60-year-old black man boy on your way in.
Yeah, it was no bueno.
Yeah, that man. But no, I like this movie. So 4 payphones and a dead Nazi.
Fair enough.
So 4.5. Well, no, 4 payphones and the Nazi's shot in his femur, and he's on the ground bleeding and screaming and crying. So not dead, but in pain.
Good. I'll take it. What does Rotten Tomatoes give this?
Right, I have that pulled up. And also, as far as I could tell, Julius Epstein isn't directly related to Jeffrey. At least I couldn't find a connection.
I mean, it
But
is a common name.
okay, so at the tomometer, they give this a 99%. And on the popcorn meter, the audience meter, they give it a 95%.
I'm really curious. I was fully expecting this to have 100% on the thermometer. I want to know who was the one critic that tanked this rating.
Hold on, I gotta do some research here. Okay, tomato. I'm not seeing a rotten mark. Do. Maybe no. A review from July 11th, 2004 by a guy named Martin. Overblown, rotten. And under his source, it's low IQ Canadian.
That is
How did this guy get
brilliant.
verified?
Oh God.
That I almost feel bad for like the people. Just a perfect tomato score ruined by just some guy with a computer.
Some dickhead like us.
I remember reading about, I don't know if it was real, but somebody unearthed an ancient review of Citizen Kane from a dude that hated it. And that brought down the tomato score from 100% to 99%. So Paddington 2 has a higher percentage on the tomometer than Citizen Kane.
I guess I didn't realize that Paddington 2 had 100% on the thermometer.
Yeah, apparently it's a banger. I've only seen the first Paddington and I had a great time.
It makes me think of that meme with Pedro Pascal,
What
where he's
meme?
like, what is the greatest film of all time? Paddington 2. And it just like cuts to him watching it and he's crying.
But I don't think Citizen Kane's a war movie. Of course, I've never watched it, because why would I?
Yeah, that's fair.
Movies are for nerds. Anyway, what's our next film?
Beware the Ides of March.
Ides of March from 2008.
No.
Roman holiday.
Julius Caesar.
Wow. Feeling a bit classical, are we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with the 1970 Charlton Heston variant because there's like several of them. One might argue that this isn't a war film, but I would argue shut the fuck up.
That's right. That's right. You tell them.
You know what? We can discuss it when we review it. But Julius Caesar is a personal favorite of mine as far as Shakespeare goes, so. And it will come out the day before the Ides of March. So suck on that. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha.
You know, I didn't know that the ancient Romans knew so much about venereal diseases where beware the Ides of March was a seasonal thing for them.
It was right after the festival of the Lupercal, if you might recall.
No, I don't fucking recall.
Well, we will get into it next week.
Well, so I actually know I'll mention that at the review, so never mind.
Pizza.
Pizza. Also,
pizza.
You owe me pizza.
I know I do. Come out to Colorado, I'll buy you a fucking Little Caesars pizza.
Okay. You gotta find a time, though.
Hell, I'll even buy you two. You know what's important? You know what? No, I have to save it for next week. But
yeah,
I have
so
a thing
we have
about
more content to pad our runtime.
Yes.
I get paid by the hour.
You don't get. Never mind.
Oh yeah. I get paid by the hour. That amount is zero. No, not right now. I don't think. Okay. I can't think of anything.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. The stars do matter. If you want additional content from us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all those good places, Discord. I can't remember anything else. Give us a follow there. Until next week, I have been John.
And I'm Jack.
And we will catch you all later.
Bye.
Now you gotta do it noir-like.
Bye.